Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of Unhinged. I am yours truly, Kiriakos Vilchez, and in this episode of Unhinged, we'll be revisiting Supergirl. This time, specifically, Season 5, Episode 3, Blurred Lines. I will clear the air concerning a few things I mentioned in my last episode. Kind of refer to my notes here. The first thing, let me just go over a few faux pas that I made, some mistakes that upon kind of reviewing the last episode of Unhinged and reviewing some of the the bogus information I was passing off to you guys concerning names. I don't know what it was, but I for the life of me, I mean, I forgot Kara's sister's name, Alex Danvers. How such a crucial character in the show, and for some reason, and I know who she is, I know what the character's name is, but God, for the life of me, I couldn't. Her among other characters, I don't know what it was. It was a long day. Anyway, first thing, I made a quip about John Jones, the boxer. Yeah, I know he's not a boxer. If you guys listen to that episode, I mentioned that. No, I know he's not. He's a martial artist, an MMA fighter, specifically. But I don't know why I always picture him as a boxer. Maybe I'm just like I picture John Jones as like the real life equivalent of who's that guy from Mortal Kombat? Jax? Yeah, I think it's Jax. I think I don't know. I think, and it's funny. Coincidentally, isn't McCall Brooks from Supergirl going to be playing Jax in the Mortal Kombat reboot film? Anyway, that's a whole other thing. Jeremy Jones, quote unquote. Yeah, who the hell is Jeremy Jones? No, I meant Jeremy Jordan, Win Shot. I played that back and I'm like, why am I calling John Jones's brother Jeremy Jones? And why am I saying that he's Win Shot? No, it's not. So no, it's Jeremy Jordan. That's the actor's name who plays Win, who will be returning in season 5 of Supergirl. So that's something to look forward to if you guys missed that character. And then lastly, let me just kind of take a look here. What else did I kind of fudge up on? I know there's one more thing that was hilarious. I think I mistakenly called Event Horizon at one point Season 2, Episode 5. It's Season 5, Episode 2. Yeah, sorry, I've got my numericals all messed up. Anyway, without further ado, let's just jump right into this thing. Season 5, Episode 3, Blurred Lines. I just saw it. Let me kind of give you the rundown on what this episode was about. It was interesting. And when I say interesting, that is not an understatement. It was all over the place. So many plot threads that I had to keep track of throughout the episode. It became dizzying at times. But the episode opens with a very weird intro. It involves William Day, one of the new employees at Catco Worldwide Media, meeting with, I believe, a fellow former government type, and they're discussing this really secret operation William Day is part of. We still don't know the details, but this guy that he's meeting with is this doctor, Dr. Jared, I believe his name is. He gets killed by this assassin who's infected with this parasitic spider alien that tattoos the host and then gives them amazing powers. Oh, and I kid you not, it's literally like they get Spider-Man-like powers, like they're shooting webbing from their fingertips, and but aside from that, they have extreme agility, extreme strength, but they also do this cool thing where they shoot out these parasitic spiders and then they can infect a new host. But they open with that intro, and this doctor gets killed by this woman who is revealed later on in the episode to be an ex-government soldier, and her name is O'Connor. I forget the first name. Aside from that, a lot of Kara and Lena in this episode. She's trying to mend that relationship. She meets Lena for lunch. She goes around the world picking out some of Lena's favorite foods. She goes to Dublin. She goes to Paris. It's a lot of kissing up. I was like, man, I know Kara's really trying to make up for lying to Lena, but I mean, And then you see Lena, who's just manipulating the heck out of Kara, and we know it, but Kara doesn't know it. I mean, Lena's looks like she's giving her a chance and she's forgiving her, and I mean that's a part of the episode. It's a small part, but it's interesting where it ends up later in the episode. But we'll get to that in a moment. The main story, I mean, the main narrative I want to talk about in this episode is John Jones and his tie-in with Obsidian North Tech, and it's all related to his brother, who I knew what his name was. It's Malefic. At first I thought it was Malekith, but I'm like, wait a second, that's the dark elf villain from Thor: The Dark World. Totally different character. But John Jones he goes to Dreamer because the Obsidian North Tech didn't quite work to his liking. There's a little bit more information we learn about in this episode, and it's very interesting. So he has Dreamer access his memory bank using her abilities. And it turns out that Malefic was sent away to the Phantom Zone by John Jones's father and himself because his brother had this uncontrollable ability to affect the minds of other Green Martians, and he was seen as a danger to the culture and what have you, so he was sent away. And at the end of the episode, they figure out that it was John specifically who put Malefic in the Phantom Zone. He kind of wiped his father's memory and wiped his own memory, which in Green Martian culture is like the ultimate sin. I mean, that's like the worst crime you can commit. And I found that was interesting. And then he's at first he blamed his father for why his brother's acting the way he is, and he's this traitor because of his dad. But it turns out that he was part of it because he was trying to help his father out, who was in so much pain and so much agony that he had to do that to one of his sons, which was interesting. So that's pretty much the most interesting part of this episode. I mean, the main villain, again, it's that weird parasitic spider alien. There's a name for it. The name eludes me at the moment, but it infects the host, gives them these powers, and then that said host can infect another host, and it just goes so on and so forth from there. The fight sequences in the episode between Supergirl and O'Connor, infected O'Connor, it's interesting. I liked when Guardian does step in and help Kara at one point, but there's this hilarious part of that fight where he gets infected, but she shoots one of the parasitic spiders directly into the opening visor on his face, because he wears like a helmet with like with his eyes exposed, so the spider kind of crawled in through there and infected him. He's screaming and panicking as she gets away, and Supergirl's trying to help him. But he gets better. They use some technology to remove the parasite, and then they examine it in the lab, and they figure out a weakness. So that's how they defeat the main villain, which is the infected host. Now, before I jump into one more thing with Malefic, I think it's worth mentioning that the villain in this episode is not necessarily a villain. I mean, she's on some kind of contract with this shadowy villain, and I'll get to that more later. I just want to talk about William Day for a second. I don't know what it is about this character, but I'm starting to hate him more and more. He's just annoying to me at this point. At first I thought he was just this lackey that the new Catco de facto leader, Mr. Rojas, brought on board, but he's supposed to be some award-winning journalist, and he just comes off as this, like, I don't know exactly what they pegged his character to be in this season, but right now he looks like he's much worse than anyone anticipated. I mean, Supergirl kind of mentions this to James as she starts suspecting that he's behind the death of Dr. Jared, and then the involved in the conspiracy as a whole, because another doctor is also almost assassinated by this infected soldier. So it was interesting to see how he kind of quickly transformed from this annoying self-righteous, pompous journalist to this major player in alien affairs slash assassination. So we'll kind of see where that will go as the season progresses. But yeah, the majority of the episode they defeat the villain. But they defeat her, but then before she can say anything, she actually gets killed by whoever she worked for. I mean, this guy kind of swoops in like a Dementor. It was bizarre. Like Kara has her. They defeat her. They remove the parasite from her, so she's no longer infected. And before she can respond to anything, either inquiry from Supergirl or Alex after the fight, this shadowy figure kind of swoops in between them, stabs O'Connor in the chest, and she dies instantaneously. So I mean, at this point, we don't know what's going on with why these big biotech scientists were. I guess their specified field is gene manipulation. So superpowers, probably maybe something that affects alien kind. I don't know. We don't know yet. Um, so I mean, that's where that main story, that plot point is. At the end, Lena does. I mean, we get to see more of, and I like it. This is probably my favorite thing for the season thus far. And we're only the third episode in. The next episode um, airs this Sunday. It's Friday, October 25th. So I'll probably have this episode up, hopefully this evening, if not tomorrow at the latest, probably around the time that episode 4 airs on the CW. But yeah, Lena is really, yeah, she's becoming the character that I always wanted her to be, maybe halfway through season 3 into season 4 when I didn't really know what they were doing with her character. You were really starting to see the manipulative gears working in her head. Like she's a brilliant woman, just smart as it can be. I mean, she's Lex Luthor's equal, maybe even smarter, considering that she's going about her scheme a completely different way. She's going to totally manipulate Supergirl. She uses her actually in this episode. She uses Kara to steal Lex Luthor's childhood journals, which is just so cool. I love this. His childhood journals from Fort Summit, which is an army, a top secret army location, where they have a whole bunch of classified documents, weapons, alien tech, all kinds of stuff. So she has Supergirl break in there. I mean, Kara offers, but I mean, Lena knows that Kara's trying to make up for what she did, so she doesn't even have to coax her. Kara offers, "Hey, I'll go take it. I'll go get it for you. You know, make things better." I mean, you're trying to deal with what Lena says is that she needs the journals to kind of get over the trauma of how Lex deceived her and she had to deal with her brother and so on and so forth. But it's actually because there's this hidden cipher. There's a code that Lex put in there in perfecting the O-Wave tech, which is the tech that Lena's going to be using in her grand scheme of things to kind of control the entire population and give them all like dutifully loyal personalities where they don't lie and cheat and hurt each other. She wants to make like a weird utopian perfect world off of her very basic fear that she doesn't want other people to get hurt by deception, which is interesting. I mean, it's a little over the top, but the way they're going about it is that she's going to be using technology, which is that's fine. I mean, that's why she has Miss Tessmacher, who's now in the control of her AI system, but she's finally obtained that. So she has Lex's O-Wave schematics. So now she can work with that and see where she can take her her mind control plan and put it into action. And that's pretty much the gist of this episode. It's all over the place, guys, and that's really an understatement. You really have to pay attention. I mean, it seems like they kind of just kicked up the momentum into overdrive from the first 2 episodes of the season. They just went all in. It's like there's assassination. There's an assassination, at the beginning. There's another assassination attempt. They have William Day playing a bigger role. They have Lena in this O-Wave situation. They have Obsidian North and Malefic, who took advantage of Kelly, James's sister, who works for Obsidian North. She helps him in this episode where Oh, that's also the third arc in this episode is that he reaches out to her in the most amazing way possible. I'll get to that in a moment because I lost it when I realized who this was. I didn't recognize him at first in the picture that Kelly has on her desk in her office at Obsidian. But anyway, she he goes to her and she's able to access the memories for him. But in turn, it gives him the ability, his old ability to mind control people. He can put his consciousness in other people, make them do other things. So he's dangerous. He's really dangerous. He's pretty bad. Um, Whereas he's a shapeshifter, and now he's this mind controlling shapeshifter. So John has his hands full with his brother, who he's either trying to save or defeat, or in the weird gray area. But the special guest appearance, who he masquerades as to gain access to Kelly and have her use the obsidian tech on him, of all people, Sean Astin. Yes, the Goonies, the Lord of the Rings, Sean Astin. I couldn't believe it. I saw his face in the picture and I'm like, wait a second, that guy looks awfully familiar. But I'm like, no, it can't be. And then he materializes and yep, Sean Astin. He does a good job. I was surprised. I knew that like people like Kevin James. Oh no, not Kevin James. Kevin. Excuse God, I'm thinking of the guy from King of Queens. Kevin Smith was a fan of Supergirl, and he even directed an episode. And Melissa Benoist actually was featured in the Jay and Silent Bob reboot as a superhero. Quite comedically. But I didn't realize that Sean Astin was a Supergirl fan because I think he must have been pretty stoked to make a special guest appearance in this. And seeing that his character, who let me just take a quick look at his character, Pete Andrews, that's his name. He's an old war buddy of Kelly's, I guess when they served. Because I remember her giving some of her backstory. She did serve in the military, so they did serve together in Afghanistan. So that's how she knows him. So if he's a fixture in her life, like he's from her past, maybe Sean Astin, the real Mr. Parker, I'm sorry, Pete Andrews, Mr. Andrews, the real Mr. Andrews will get back into the picture, and maybe he'll be a recurring special guest. Who knows? Because he is actually a real person in Kelly's life, not some throwaway character. But yeah, the fake Pete Andrews, as played by Malefic, gained access to the technology. Now it's all bad. Now he has this superior mind and consciousness controlling abilities back. But yeah, that's pretty much that pretty much sums up this episode. It's quite interesting. I mean, just how the show just went from trudging along, introducing us to, the new lay of the land to, whoa, now we just went down the hill like Indiana Jones in that mine cart. At that speed, at that, just woo, it was all over the place. I was like, I actually had to stop and take a few notes here and there to just make sure I remembered a good portion of what I was watching so I could relay that to you guys here on this episode. But I mean, I enjoyed it. I did like the fight sequences between the infected O'Connor and Supergirl and Guardian. I did like the Malefic angle, how John kind of discovered that he's to blame for his brother's demise and am I going to be able to say this word? I should be able to say this word. Ostri. Okay, he was ostracized. God, I'm not going for the full word. God, it's a tongue twister, that word. Okay. So there's a lot of that's an emotional anchor there for that plot line. So, but yeah, I think what I left, what I walked away from this episode with was that I appreciated what they're doing more with Lena than the main story arc. I mean, for me, with the assassinations, I mean, I still don't know what the heck's going on. I don't know what the end game is for this shadowy figure, this Dementor-like figure that swooped in. I don't believe that was Malefic. That wouldn't make much sense. It's this character that Malefic, I believe, is working with. And now that I mention it, that big bad that we saw, the guy who kind of stepped in and created that whole mess on that whole mess in that last Arrowverse crossover. The Monitor, that's his name. That's that bad guy's name. I don't know if he's responsible for putting Malefic to use here in National City and having him do these things, but I don't know. It didn't look like the Monitor. I mean, this guy looked like he had robes and a hood and everything. He moved so quick that even Supergirl couldn't. I mean, she blinked and she was like, "What happened? She's dead." I mean, she just got stabbed in the heart with this huge dagger. I'm like, all right. So I mean, at this point, it's interesting, but I'm not really. I don't really understand what's going on there. I mean, I think they're giving us piece by piece every week, so we have to put it together, and it'll put it together, and the show will put it together for us eventually, and we'll see the bigger picture. But I like the Lena angle. I like how they're using her to using Supergirl to meet her own ends, and it'll be interesting where they take Lena going forward. I'm very excited about Lena Luthor finally. I mean, I like that they brought her in, but I mean, now that she's kind of tapping into her dark side more, and with each episode, she's becoming more and more. She reaffirms her right to do these things. It's like, oh, Kara, oh, you don't have to do this for me. But, oh, we know, Lena, we know you want to do this. We know that you want her to do anything for you now because now you can use her to your advantage, and you're going to continue to manipulate her. And I know that it's gonna end to some epic confrontation between the two when Lena finally reveals that she's been deceiving Kara, and I think it's going to be a bridge well beyond repairing, and I think that it's going to be a smoldering heap of rubble that either of them can't cross back over, and I love that. I love that they're going to do that. I hope that they don't step back a bit, away from that ledge, and they're like, ooh, we don't want to make that jump because we can't come back from it, but it's a very bold thing to do, and I think that's what they need to do with the show. They need to make more bold decisions to keep it fresh and entertaining for us fans, especially as DC fans who grew up on many a story arc where, they didn't pull any punches. I remember reading A Death in the Family for the very first time, and I already knew that Jason Todd was going to die, but it's just amazing that DC had people write in who they wanted to die, and I mean, no, if they wanted Jason Todd to die or not, and they did, and then that was it. They had the Joker kill him, and then they redid it in Death of the Family, the New 52 DC reboot standalone issue. Very well done too, but it's I like when a superhero show, movie, graphic novel, they make these risky but bold moves, and it pays off, and usually does pay off when they execute it well. And I think that's what they'll be doing with Lena. I might be wrong. I was wrong last time. I mean, hey, I'm only human. Hey, I'm only human. I make mistakes. Bada bing, bada boom. But yeah, I hope her character develops even more into that realm that they can't come back from it, and maybe something far worse awaits Lena too. Who knows? At this point, it's all exciting. Worth mentioning, on the last episode of Unhinged. Again, I'm sorry about the audio. I don't. Right now, I'm recording through Audacity, so I'll try to polish it up a bit. If it still sounds a little iffy, I apologize for that. I don't have my regular equipment with me. I was recording in a studio room for that episode. I should have filtered some stuff out and edited better, so I apologize if some of the background noise is too much. I think this one might have the same issue. There might be a little bit of an echo in a much more open room. And I mean, you may hear some hooping and hollering in the background, and it's not me. It's from a building not too far away, but it's they're having some guitar stuff going on. We'll just leave it at that. But yeah, but I think that's my technical difficulties PSA right there concerning Unhinged. But yeah, season 5, episode 3, Blurred Lines, not the Robin Thicke song. Doon, doon, doon. Everybody get Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Doom, 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 doom. Stop. um, yeah, pretty good episode, all over the place. Not in a bad way, just you really got to pay attention. Even for me, I had to pay attention to quite a few things just to make sure I'm getting the full scope of information. Well, oh, I'm sorry, retaining the full spectrum of information being thrown at me. Season 5, Episode 4 airs this Sunday on the CW. Again, hopefully I can put up another Supergirl related episode. I'm going to try to do these more because I really love the show. I can't say it enough. Again, I have my qualms with it, but it's fun. It's a fun show, and I love the cast, and it's always exciting to see where they try to take the show next. So I'm going to try to do more of these Supergirl focused podcast episodes where I review or recap moments in the show or episodes or hilarity, what have you. I'll try to do that more. And again, among the other topics I'll be covering here on Unhinged. But yeah, that's about it. I hope I haven't taken up too much of your time, partner. As always, make sure to like, comment, and or subscribe. Thank you for your support. Thank you for listening. Much obliged, much appreciation. And lastly, oh so lastly, thank you for joining me here on Unhinged.
Who do you work for? Who do you work for? She's dead.
What just killed her?